Folks, this is Jake Feinberg. Being a father, I know there is nothing more important than your child's health. And nobody is more dedicated to children's health in Southern Arizona than Dwayne Dyson. Dr. Dyson is Tucson's finest pediatrician and has devoted much of his professional career to improving the lives of children. Located at 4530 East Camp Fort Lowell, Dr. Dyson's resume speaks for itself. After doing his undergraduate work at Cal Berkeley, his schooling took him to Morehouse School of Medicine, where he mentored young adolescents about the need for pediatric physicians in Atlanta, and worked extensively with infants at the Texas Children's Hospital. The special thing about Dr. Dyson is that while his in-house care is exceptional, he also prepares families about what to expect once they leave the office. Dr. Dyson provides comprehensive and honest analysis for all of his patients. Dr. Dyson and his family live and work in Tucson because he knows how vibrant and diverse the community is. He is committed to procuring a robust family health center that can instill trust and alleviate the concerns of parents. Like I said, his resume speaks for itself. For more information, check out DysonPediatrics.com. It's that good. Joe, and it's an honor to have guitarist Al Gaff on the program. Al, welcome back.
Thanks, Jake.
So let's pick it up from there. The band was so powerful that basically it was get out of the way and let you guys bulldoze your way through. How long were the sets and how late did you play?
The job was a 4-hour job, and I think it was like 9 to 1 or something like that. That's what I think it was. And it was five nights a week. So the group was extremely powerful. We were in this. The Playboy Club had several rooms, and the group was in the first room as you would walk in, and the group was so powerful that many times people would not even get to the showrooms. They would just hang in this area that we were in because we were just so strong. Mm-hmm. And we were there for I think about 3 years. With this setup, and Kai Winding used to play with us every once in a while. He was the musical director there, and when he left, Sam Donahue became the musical director. Sam used to play with us every once in a while, and it was it was a fun job to be at. And at that time in my career, that job was like Tuesday through Saturday, and I was busy in the studios in the daytime, like from Monday through Friday. So I was making money in days, working and making money at nights, and I had no time to spend the money. Right. The only real day I had off was a Sunday, and I was always so exhausted from working so much that I would just kind of cool it. And that's how I was able to get a good start in my life, just by working so much. I had no time to spend any money that I was making.
What was
we stayed.
I have a question actually. Did you start writing a lot of songs at that time?
No, I didn't.
Who was writing for that band, though? I mean, was you just playing standards? You was Larry writing originals, or? No,
every once in a while somebody would. Yeah, I mean, I wrote one or two things. Larry wrote one or two things, but the main repertoire was American standards.
Okay, continue. Yeah.
Play choruses on them. Yeah, and we've given the people a not continuous bebop. Not continuous bossa nova. We give them a blend of everything, and it was high. It was high quality, and it was successful over there. And when that job came to an end, we went to a small restaurant uptown on Columbus and 92nd. It used to be called a Cellar, and they went from 25 dinners a night to 125 dinners a night with just the strength of the group alone.
Wow.
So it was a really exciting time in New York. There were a lot of clubs had music, and we were part of it.
What were some of the other big clubs back? The Apollo in Harlem.
Yeah, that was not.
That was more of a soul club.
That's not a jazz club.
No.
Let me tell you something. In the mid '60s, there was a club called Count Basie's. I think it was on 125th and Lenox Avenue or something like that, and it was a guitar room. What I mean by that is they would have guitar trios there, and it was usually like Kenny Burrell and Jimmy Smith and Bill English. It was Kenny Burrell's trio, and Wes Montgomery would be up there with the same setup: drums, organ, and guitar. Grant Green was there. George Benson used to work there. Eddie Harris, a saxophonist, and so that I used to listen to music up there whenever I had a chance, and that's where Wes Montgomery started to really have an influence on my guitar playing. I never saw anybody have so much fun on the instrument, and I wanted some of that. And he could really play. He had a fire that a lot of guys don't have. He just had so I would go up there and sit the whole night and listen to that, and then I'd drive home, and then I'd practice 3 or 4 hours, and I'd be be 6 o'clock in the morning, and then I'd be wiped out.
I have a question actually. I talked to my first guest was Pat Martino from Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. He told me that when he went to Atlantic City to see the Jimmy Smith, Kenny Burrell trio, he went with Charles Earland, and the output was so blazingly high, it was unbelievable. That the next day Charles Earland went from he stopped playing. He was playing the saxophone. He stopped playing the saxophone and jumped on started playing the organ. And at that, can you remember? I know we'll get back to Wes, but can you talk a little bit from a historical perspective about the sound that was being the output that came from the Burrell Smith? It was a Dave Bailey on drum. Who was on drums?
It was if it wasn't Dave, it was Bill English. Bill English, used to work a lot for them.
Was that the output was really astounding? Took it to a new level at that point?
Yeah, it was so high quality, and it definitely was. Yeah, there were definitely a couple of guys that could really take it up a notch, and Kenny was definitely one of them, and Wes definitely was another one. They just had so much to give and so much to share with people that you as a musician you needed to take that in, and I was glad that I was able to see it and hear that.
Were they were very compassionate people as well, or could they be very could they really hammer people too, or they were filled with like a lot of love?
Well, Wes was just full of love. He was just an unbelievable great person.
He was a better person than a player, which is amazing, really.
Well, I don't know that deeply or not. But,
right.
But if he saw you in the street and you were carrying an instrument, he would say hello to you, as opposed to what are you doing with that instrument? You know what I mean?
Yeah. What business do you have with that? He always treated everybody the same. Yeah.
Right. He had a lot of fire in his playing, and he had a lot of love in his inside him that he was always sharing with people. And he was not a mentor of mine or anything like that, but he was an inspiration that you can't ever forget. That's what he gave me.
So you were working steady gigs. The money was well, and then, I put it on for my daughter this morning as we were on our way to the camp, her camp, and I threw on the Phantom, and there is Al Gafa on guitar playing these angular hits. I was really. Anyway, I've listened to that tune many, many times, but I took particular interest in Al's playing today. And how did you link up with Duke and Blue Note?
Duke came by the Playboy Club, and he asked me if I'd like to do some more work with him. I said, yeah, sure. I didn't really know exactly. I knew who he was, but I didn't know what kind of work he was talking about, and it was. Some sessions. There was a bunch of artists. Maybe it's going to be a tough one to think. Maybe Lee Morgan may have done some things with him, and I'll think of the names. I'm going to drop a story here because I talked to Mickey Roker, and he said there was a period of time where him and Bob Crenshaw were living together, and Duke would come over and play. They had a big band, but because Mickey was trying to learn how to read music, and so Duke would come over and teach him how to read it, and then the trio would jam together. But it sounds like that. Did you play in those kind of settings as well once you got to know him, or was it always in the studio? I played with him at a club once or twice, and it's because I wasn't working with him. I just went in to sit in, and he said he's working. Why not come by? And I did, that's sitting in was the kind of thing that you were invited to every once in a while. And I did play with him in there, but it was most of the stuff that I did with him was in the studio.
And how did that? At that point, though, you felt proficient. I mean, you had been working you had learned the ins and outs of jazz guitar pretty well. I mean, you felt.
Wait a minute! I got to take you that. I never feel like I know the ins and outs of jazz guitar.
Go ahead, explain.
I just I play the guitar, and I play what feels like it belongs, and it makes me feel good to play it. But it's not true that I know everything about the guitar, because I really don't. I know how to use what I know, and I know how and when to use it. And I think that's one of the reasons that I've been successful.
Yeah, no, I have a tendency to sort of bastardize language. So pull me back in, Al. I mean, I want you to put this in your words.
Okay.
So really the session dates with Duke, the early '70s for me, Al, was a really interesting time in our history as a country. We obviously had the Vietnam War. We had a political scandal with Watergate. We had an oil embargo going on, and but at the same time, amidst all this sort of political and both foreign and domestic, this mess came about this sort of fusion of not the Weather Report fusion or the that kind of mid '70s or later '70s fusion, but I'm talking about a fusion of rock and jazz, and also the fusion of acoustic and electric guitar, or electric instrumentation. It made for a very funky sound, and it made for a really, really beautiful sound. And I was wondering if you talk a little bit about from those early '70s years, the kind of vibe that you remember from that period, and some of the experiences you had playing on people's albums.
Okay. So the early '70s. Let me. I need to back up into about 1969. That Playboy job came to an end, and I got a call to go out on the road with Sammy Davis, and I needed a change. I needed a change from the scene that I was in. That was the recording scene and the club thing. It was just every once in a while you need to sweep out the closet and move on. So I went out on the road with Sammy Davis, and I was with him for about a year. And during that year, Carmen McRae was his opening act for about maybe 6 weeks. And in 1970, the dates are not exact, but I think it was in 1970. Her pianist decided to leave after being with her for that was Norman Simmons. I think he had been with her about 18 years, if not more.
He needed a break too.
Yeah, that's could be. Yeah. All right, so when you are an accompanist with somebody for that long, something happens that it's beyond music. There's a bond. It's a personal bond. If you make friends with somebody for 20 years, and all of a sudden that friendship is not there, you can never find somebody to replace that person exactly. So this is what happened with her. Her pianist had left after all this time, and she could not find another pianist to fill that spot. So one of the guys that she was working with used to sit in with us every once in a while. His name was Nat Pierce, and Nat says, "Well, why don't you call Al Gafa?" So she says, she remembered me from the Sammy Davis thing, and she called me, and I flew out to Los Angeles, and we rehearsed for about a week in her house. She had a job coming up, and the rehearsals went well, and everything was right, and so I became her musical director and conductor, and that's 1970.
How is that flown below the radar for this long? I never knew that.
Oh, okay. Well, it probably flew so low because the work was not there. There was just not enough work. I tried living in New York and then flying out wherever she had a job.
That didn't work.
But she was not working enough for me to make a living. And when you're in the studios in New York, if you're out of town, there's 25 guys that are looking for you for that one spot,
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't keep working with her and keep the studio thing going. It was just conflicting. I stayed with her for about a year, but I was not making enough money to make a living, and I had just gotten married, and
you wanted to have some roots. You didn't want to be flying all over the place. That's
I got to cut you off again. That's not exactly true. That was not part of. That didn't come into the picture at all. Making music was the whole thing. Being able to survive as a musician was the whole thing. Whether I survived in New York or survived on the road, it didn't matter. I needed to survive because I needed that for myself. So Carmen was not working enough. I had to finally cut that loose, and whenever we used to work in New York, we used to use Mickey Roker. So after I left Carmen, Mickey was with Dizzy. Dizzy wanted to try he tried a guitar player out one time. It didn't work out, so Mickey said, "Why don't you call Al?" And there I was. I started with Dizzy. That's from 1971 to 76. I was with Dizzy. So
made some great albums too. I mean, the Bahiana.
Bayana, yes.
Bayana. Go ahead.
That was a very strange album. There were guys on that album that were not. They shouldn't have been playing on that album. The group was really tight without any augmenting that group.
Well, the group in your mind, it just should have been.
It should have been at that time was a quintet. Earl May, Mickey, Mike Longo, me, and Dizzy. And that album should have stayed that way. But Dizzy used to try these things here. I'll give you an example of what I mean. One time we went out to do a festival in, I think, Monterey, and he hired another drummer. Now, Mickey Roker is probably one of the best drummers in the world.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't need any help. So we had a guy come in, and the guy was in the way. So it didn't mean that the guy couldn't play. It means that he was just in the way. We didn't need it. Everybody
was like, "Dizzy, why'd you do this?"
No, nobody said anything, but everybody thought that, and that's what used to happen a lot. We'd get ready to do a festival, and somebody would show up, and Dizzy would say, "Come on, play with us," and we didn't need it.
Yeah.
So anyway,
no, Mickey told me a story where. It was just like Dizzy also had a hard time really keeping the trumpet in his hands. He wanted to do everything but play the trumpet. Is that fair?
He was. Yeah, we used to carry those congas around. He had congas that
he loved the congas. He loved the congas, Al.
He had the congas, and he had some stick with some bottle caps on it a rhythm stick that he used to bang on there.
Yeah.
And so he was not rhythm deprived. He was always looking to play some rhythm, and he was learning. He was on the job training for him, but he was good, and he understood rhythm, and he knew he played. It was okay, but yes, he did. He played enough trumpet, and even if he played 2 minutes instead of 6 minutes, those 2 minutes were packed with some heavy duty music, so it was worthwhile. When I first joined that group, his harmonic concept was so far different than anybody that I had ever worked with before. I couldn't even find the notes on the guitar. Can
you actually extrapolate on harmonic concept for my audience?
Well, I can only explain it musically. I can't
that's
explain
it. Just do the best you can. I like thinking these terms out.
There are notes. When I'm playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, those kind of intervals, for those who know. And Dizzy would play 1, sharp 5, flat 5, sharp 9, flat 9, and he would alter the chords. So you cannot just play one chord, and that you got to fix. When you're accompanying somebody,
mm-hmm.
You have to change the chord to fit what the guy is playing. You can't just play a chord and say I'm the accompanist.
Right.
That's not accompanying. That's just playing chords, and anybody can do that. So when he was playing the first night, I said, "Gee, where are these notes?" And until I found where they were, and then I understood what he was. I can't say that. I understood a lot about where he was going with the things, and I can anticipate where he was going. And that's the job of an accompanist. You need to listen, and you need to anticipate. And Mike was in the group for about a year with the quintet, and then Mike left. And we just left it as a quartet, and the music seemed like it took a step up because everybody knew what was going on, and it was nice, yeah. But Dizzy played in. I'm not sure I agree with Mickey saying that he had trouble putting the trumpet in his hand. He did play the congas a lot, but he played the congas when I was soloing, and he played the trumpet when he was soloing. So it's
no, I think it was just that his mind was literally on 9 different things at one time, and he was able to juggle them all. But occasionally, he got a little bit carried away. What were set the scene like after a show? When it was just the real deal guys, it was you, Earl Ray,
Earl
May, Mickey, Mike, Dizzy. Would you guys like grab a meal? Like what would you do in the downtime after a really good gig?
Well,
or would you go your separate ways? Would you go back to your wife? I don't know. I mean, that's to me. It's like part of it's you got to put it in the time.
Yeah, Mike and Mickey and Dizzy loved to play poker, so there was always a poker game going on with somebody, Milt Jackson or somebody. There'd always be a poker game going on, and I would kind of go my own way because I was not into playing cards after a job and stuff like that. So, and Earl was the same way. Earl and I had played a lot of music together before, and we kind of went our own separate ways there. I mean, we would play we'd play some poker every once in a while, or we'd play penuckle on a plane that we always seemed to be flying almost every 10 days somewhere. And
you guys did travel a lot.
We were with the quartet. We were on the road for about a little over 200 days a year, plus another maybe 6 or 7 weeks of work in New York. So we were on the road a lot. That's really true. But we would never stay out for long. We'd go out for 8 days or so and come back for 1 or 2 days and then go back out again. The only time we'd stay out for any length would be when we went to Europe, and that would sometimes be 6, 7 weeks sometimes.
Talking with Al Gafa. Al, in our remaining moments here, I wanted to touch on an album that really I listened to the other day, and it's sprightly and it's buoyant and it's funky too. I think it doesn't get enough credit for being a good album. Is Leblon Beach, which is was that your first album as a leader?
Yeah, it was. It definitely was my first album. That came about from Dizzy. Dizzy told Norman Grants. He said, "Norman, why don't you record Al?" And we had been playing a bunch of my compositions in Dizzy's group. And Norman called me, and I decided, yeah, I'd love to do it, sure. And
how did you did you have a lot of say in who you wanted to? Because there's a lot of guys. There's a really cool percussionist on that album that I've never heard of before. Kenny Barron, of course, played piano. But did you have a lot of like if you could cut your own album, you could bring in the people you wanted?
Yeah. I'm the guy that called everybody on that in that situation. Yeah. Kenny, I had worked with him a few times. I just love playing with him. He's a terrific person and a terrific player. And let's see, that was Ben Brown was the bass player with Dizzy at the time. The percussionist was Asdean Weston. That's Randy Weston's kid or something like that.
Oh wow! And you wanted an added percussive instrument?
Yeah.
So when you look back at your body, and now what I'd like to do is actually we have just a couple minutes left in the regular programming, but I'd like to come back and do an additional rollover for maybe another 5 to 10 minutes if that's possible. Mm-hmm. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right. So we've been talking with Al Gafa. This is a special edition of the Jake Feinberg Show that will ultimately be going on the road in a couple of weeks. We're going to be going back to Boston and doing some more chronicling of musicians at the New England Conservatory, and then we'll be headed to New York, where I plan on sitting down with Bagels with Gil Goldstein, and getting a chance to hang out with Mike Longo as well, in this pursuit of interviewing all my heroes in music. Al, let me ask you real quickly. Tell in the last couple minutes of our session here. What do you do musically these days? Are you writing? Are you playing? What are you doing now?
Well, the music business has changed a lot for me.
Should we hold this question until Should we hold this until we come back? Is this? I don't want to cut you off, and I feel like you're going to go on. You're going to have it.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go on.
Okay, that's good. I want to get your opinion here. But everything is good, and Al, hang tight. We're going to go to we'll go to the break here, and we'll come back in just a minute. Okay.
Terrific.
Right.
Thanks a lot.
Yep.